Welcome to this Arts and Disability Connect information session. My name is Amie Lawless, and I just quickly want to talk you through some access pieces of information. Today we have Michael Feeney, who is our Irish Sign Language interpreter, who's on screen. Claire Apperly is providing captions. You can click on the CC button below, or there's a stream text link in the chat box. You can click on that and open it in a separate browser window and change the font size as you wish. Throughout the presentation, I'm going to read all of the text on the slides and I'll give brief image descriptions. I'll describe myself. I'm a woman in my 30s with dark hair tied back. I'm wearing glasses and a denim shirt. Okay, so let's start. So Arts and Disability Connect is an Arts Council funding scheme. It's managed by Arts and Disability Ireland. And it's basically funding support for artists with disabilities. And the idea is for them to be ambitious, to develop their practice, and to connect with arts organisations and arts professionals in Ireland. So today I'm going to talk about the scheme in general. I am going to talk about who the scheme is for, about eligibility. I'm going to talk about the 4 different award types and give you examples of artists who have received funding. I'll also talk to you a little bit about the type of support that applicants and people working with applicants can get. And then towards the end, I'm going to finish my presentation and then we'll have lots of time for questions. So we're really interested in hearing all of your questions, no matter how big or small you might think they are. We'd really like to try and answer lots of questions. So please think about what you might like to ask towards the end. Okay, let's kick off. So in 2021, we hope to support 28 artists with disabilities. And we have €116,000 available for those 28 awards. This year, we have 2 options for artists to apply. So round 1 opened on the 6th of April, and the deadline is the 24th of May. And then round 2 will open on the 30th of August, and the deadline is the 18th of October. So those are your 2 options to apply. adiarts.ie/connect is where you can find all of the application forms, the guidelines, easy read information, and frequently asked questions. You can download them all there. There's lots of information on this page. This is what the website looks like at the moment. And you simply scroll down, and the most important part of it is the application forms and guidelines. So who is the scheme for? It's for individual artists with disabilities. It's for artists at all stages of their career, so emerging, mid-career and established. It's for artists who live in the Republic of Ireland. And it's for artists working in the following art forms. So architecture, circus, dance, film, literature, music, opera, street arts and spectacle, theatre, traditional arts, and visual arts. Are you eligible to apply? So the Arts Council and Arts and Disability Ireland, we take our definition of disability from the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And this states, Persons with disabilities include those who have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, or sensory impairments, which, in interaction with various barriers, may hinder their full and effective participation in society on an equal basis with others. So you'll see in the application forms, you'll be asked to make a declaration. So using this definition, are you a person with a disability? And to be eligible, you need to tick the box, yes. Simple. I'm going to talk about the 4 different award types now, and the first one I want to talk to you about is new work. So for a new work award, it's for established artists, and they can apply for up to €15,000. The minimum amount you can apply for is €8,000, and it's great. So we've had an increase of funding from the Arts Council, which has meant that we were able to increase the award amount for new work, which is fantastic. So for this award, you'll need to make and present ambitious new work to an audience with the support of an arts partner. So an arts partner can be organisations, venues, arts centres, or arts festivals in the Republic of Ireland. And I'll give you some examples of what those arts partners can be in a moment. But the funding can cover your fees, your access costs, your travel costs in the Republic of Ireland, other artist and collaborator fees, production fees, and production costs. So an example here is Ciara Chapman is a Cork-based visual artist, and in partnership with Cork printmakers, Ciara will create a publication, exhibition, and art trail during summer and autumn 2021 called My Chronic Pain Diary. This image is I Am All of These by Ciara Chapman from 2021. A brief image description. This is an illustration. In the background are a series of animals that look like they could be soft toys. So we have lions and bulls and elephants and foxes and bees and birds. And then in the foreground is a larger outline, just an outline of what could be a soft toy of a bunny, one large and one small. Our next example is Mairead Folan performing Meet Luke at a consideration of all bodies, the Lab Gallery, and the photo is by Amber Barrett. And so Mairead's new work proposal was to direct a new piece of theatre called Wake. It was a retelling of The Little Mermaid written by Deirdre Sullivan. And Mairead's arts partner was Town Hall Theatre. And so Mairead is a theatre maker based in Galway, and she developed this really strong relationship with Town Hall. And they provided rehearsal space, a space for the shows to actually happen. They provided marketing support and lots of other professional development supports as well. This next example is an image of a rehearsed reading of Obgob by Roderick Ford at the Peacock Abbey Theatre, and the photo is by Louis Haw. And this is an image of a sparse stage with 5 women. The first woman on our left is sitting in profile at a table reading a script. The 3 women in the centre, there are 3 stands with scripts, and 2 of them are standing and reading from them. The one in the middle of these 3 is sitting on one of 4 blue chairs, and to the right, a woman sits cross-legged on the floor with the script on the floor. So Roderick's arts partners were Project Art Centre, and he also built in different types of support alongside that. So he had support from Rough Magic Theatre Company, and also from Sarah Baxter, who is a dramaturg and director. And so Sarah is the woman who is sitting in profile at the table that I just described earlier. So Project Art Centre were originally supposed to host this staged reading, but they had unexpected renovations to make. So they negotiated with the Abbey for the use of the peacock, and they were also very heavily involved in making sure that theatre makers and programmers were coming to see this rehearsed reading as well. This was an opportunity for Roderick to work with actors while he was developing the script, work with the dramaturg, and also work with a set designer to get the look and feel of Obgob as well. So it was a really broad application, which was great. So the next award is Research and Development, and this is a new award in this scheme. It's for mid-career and established artists, and they can apply for up to €5,000. So this funding is to help you think, research, reflect, and engage with your practice. It can also be used to start new relationships with arts partners, to submit a new work application in the future, or it could be about creating other types of strategic relationships with arts professionals and arts organisations for different types of funding. But the main thrust of this award and the feedback that we've had from artists over the past few years is that the focus is on buying time for you, so that you can think about your practice and research and to create work. So this funding can cover your fees, and the unusual thing about this award is that your fees can be up to 100% of the award itself, if that's what you need at this moment. It can cover your materials, your access costs, your travel costs in the Republic of Ireland, other artists and collaborator fees, if that's applicable. And we're very excited to see what people are going to come up with about this award. The next award is mentoring. So the mentoring award is for emerging mid-career and established artists, and they can apply for up to €3,000. And this funding is to provide mentoring with an experienced arts professional. So arts professionals as examples can include artists, choreographers, curators, directors, producers, and people working for arts organisations. And what you would do during your mentoring process is you will meet with your mentor at least 6 times, but you will talk about issues in your practice and share information and advice. So you're identifying a problem that you're having in your practice and you're working with an arts professional to solve that. So this funding will cover your fees, your access costs, your travel costs in the Republic of Ireland, your mentor's fees, mentor's access costs, and mentor's travel. So the one restriction around this funding is that only up to €1,500 can be spent on the mentor's fees and access, and that's to ensure that you have your fees and your access costs covered as well. So here's an example. We have Philip Kenny, who is a Dublin-based writer and spoken word poet who worked with writer Arnold Thomas Fanning to expand his practice and get critical feedback while he worked towards creating a new body of work. So this image is Ode to Sweeney's by Philip Kenny, 2020, and the photo is by Ruth Kerr. Short image description. This is a photograph of Philip Kenny, who is a man in his 30s. He has short, curly hair, he wears glasses, has stubble on his face. He's wearing a white shirt, light-coloured jacket. He's standing in a dark space, but he is lit, and there is a projection of a man's face on his torso. The next example is This is the Sound of Music by Alva Barrett from 2017. This is a painting of it's an abstract painting in a figurative style as well, and it has, we can see 9 people facing one person who is playing an instrument, which could be a guitar, and there's another person standing beside the person playing. They seem to be in a green space. It seems to be outdoors. So Alva is a visual artist based in Cork. She is part of a Crawford supported studio, and she wanted to look at animation and to draw in animation into her mostly 2D practice. So she was working with an artist, Kevin Mooney, who has experience in that as part of her mentoring. Next example that we have, this is an image of The Horror Writer by Emily Gilmore Murphy from 2019. The image description, a man in a dark suit and a white shirt wearing a black cap sits on a wooden rocking chair. He is outside. Behind him is a stone wall with gravestones shoved up against it and lots of ivy. On the grass in front of him are ripped up pages of a book, and he is tearing a page. So Emily Gilmore Murphy is based in Wicklow, and she worked with dramaturg Pamela McQueen. So as part of Emily's theatre practice, she wanted to research and explore site-specific immersive theatre. And so she worked with Pamela to draw that into her practice. So the next award type is the training award. So it's for emerging, mid-career and established artists, so at all stages of their career, can apply for up to €1,000. And this funding is to help you learn new skills from experienced artists and arts organisations on the island of Ireland. And you could use this funding to attend classes, workshops, short courses to learn skills in your art form. And you can attend arts events so that you can learn more about your art form and make connections with people working in the arts. Also, you can use it to apply for things like residencies and other professional development opportunities. The thing that I like the most about this award is that you can approach an arts professional who has a skill that you want to learn, and you can tailor make a training program together. And that can be centered around, things that you want to learn in your practice, or also it can be, centered around your access requirements as well. So this funding will cover your training fees, your materials, your access costs, your travel costs in the Republic of Ireland, and it's a straightforward award. So this example is Saoirse Burns, who is a Dublin-based theatre maker, and Saoirse will work with a dancer and choreographer to develop her movement-driven practice. So her mentoring application was about building her confidence to engage professional dancers in her theatre work. This image is of Boys and Girls by Saoirse Burns from 2019, and a brief image description. There are 4 young people sitting cross-legged in a circle facing each other. They're wearing night attire, white, silky pajamas, dressing gowns, night dresses, and they're all laughing. This is GAA Mad by Anya O'Hara and Vicky Curtis, which was at Beauty's Cafe Theatre as part of Dublin Fringe Festival in 2019, and photoed by Simon Lazewski. This image is of 2 people standing on a red stage. Either side of them is a tower of cardboard boxes. Behind them is a glittery curtain with a washing line with GAA flags hung from it. And the 2 people, one is dressed in Dublin jersey, GAA jersey, and the other is in a Mayo GAA jersey, and they both have very animated expressions on their faces. So Anya is a theatre maker, a visual artist, and she also works in film as well. And Anya saw that a graphic designer who works in film was offering a weekend course. This was Annie Atkins who was offering this, and she's very renowned in the film industry. And so Anya applied to attend that course, which was great. So Anya was able to use, she knew she was going to be able to use it for her film and TV side of her practice. But also from reading her final report, she said that it was going to influence her visual art practice and her theatre practice as well. Our next example is Bleach Those Tongues, I Once Was a Liminal Daughter by Cecilia Bullo. And this is a series of images. There are 4 images on screen together. On the left and on the right are examples of 2 bronze hares that are lying on the ground on their sides, and there are porcelain organic like aloe plants or flowers coming out from what looks like their bellies. And in the center are on the top there's an image, an illustration of a cactus with one singular flower, and below that is a photograph of the same plant. So Cecilia also had a really straightforward training application. Cecilia wanted to attend a welding fabrication course that was being delivered by Mick O'Hara at the Fire Station Artist Studios, and this linked back into her sculpture practice. So there's some examples of the awards. I hope they're useful examples for you. I just want to flag the time frame for the different rounds. So for round 1, we know that the deadline is the 24th of May, and applicants will get a response. They'll know the results by July 2021. So all of your new work, research and development, mentoring and training proposals, they have to start no earlier than July. So from July 2021 to June 2022 is when you have to have those proposals and projects wrapped up. And then for round 2, we know that the deadline is the 18th of October. And we plan to give people the results of that round in December. And we're asking that all of the activity in your applications happen between January 2022 and December 2022. So next I want to talk to you a little bit about the type of support that's on offer for you to make your applications. So like today, we have a series of information sessions. The next information session is focused on new work, and we've invited Ciara Chapman to come and talk to her experience of applying, and that's on Tuesday the 27th of April from 11 till 12, and I think the details of these are in the chat. And then our next information session is focused on mentoring with Emily Gilmore Murphy, and that will be on Tuesday, the 4th of May, between 11 and 12. And she'll be speaking about applying, but also she's completed her mentoring award, so she can talk to her experience of working with Pamela McQueen. The recording of this information session will be on YouTube, and also from last year, from 2020, the same information session will be available there. All of the other information sessions from last year will be found on SoundCloud, and also the round 2 information sessions, which will look at research and development and the training awards. They'll be also available on SoundCloud at a later date as well. So keep an eye out for those. So applicant support. So this is for up to 1 hour of support, either on the phone, by Zoom, or by email. And during that time, we can review a draft application and give feedback, or you can bounce ideas off me as well. And to book that applicant support, you simply email Amie, AMIE, at adiarts.ie. So you can book in applicant support until the Wednesday, the 19th of May in round 1, and up until Wednesday, the 13th of October for round 2. Just going to run through how the nuts and bolts of how you apply. So first, you should download the application forms and the guidelines from our website. Number 2, you should choose the award you want to apply for, read the guidelines and understand them. 3, you complete your application form. 4, you gather your application files together. And so these will include your application form, your artistic CV, the CVs of the people you want to work with, so your arts partner, your mentor, your trainer, or any other people who you've named in your application. Letters of commitment or letters of interest from those people as well are very important. And lastly, you'll be gathering together examples of your work. And we recommend that you choose examples that are relevant to your application. So once you have all of those files together, you send your application through WeTransfer, which is a file sharing website. In the application forms and the guidelines, you'll find step-by-step instructions on how to do that. And if you're not familiar with using WeTransfer, we recommend that you do a little trial run with a friend or a family member before the deadline date so that you get used to using it. So before I finish up this presentation, I want to give you a quote from Mairead Folan, who received an Arts and Disability Connect New Work Award in 2018 and Mentoring Awards in 2017 and 2020. And I mentioned Mairead earlier on. And this quote from Mairead says, "My advice for any present or future recipients of Arts and Disability Connect, think big, go out of your comfort zone, and the rewards will be in reach." I want to say thanks to Mairead for that quote. Speaking of thank yous, I'm going to, while you're thinking about the questions that you'd like to ask about the scheme, or checking if ideas for an application would work, please feel free to put those in the Q&A box. While you're doing that, I just want to thank a few people. So working with us today, we have ISL interpreter Michael Feeney from Bridge Interpreting, and Claire Apperly from MyClear Text, providing captions. I want to thank you both. Thank you. For our recording on YouTube, I want to say thank you to Atlantic Audio and captions provided by Stage Text. And this is a great opportunity for us to thank the Arts Council, and particularly the Arts Participation team, including Anne O'Connor and Karen Whelan, who work with us on the scheme. So we're going to move to questions now. I hope you have some ideas of what you want to ask. And I think my colleague Sheila is going to join us in just a moment. And I'm going to take a sip. Hello, Sheila.
Hi, everyone. It's great to have so many people in the room today. We have had a question in. It asked, can you please give advice on how to make contact with the person you would like to support you?
So say I'm going to take a guess. Is that about approaching a mentor or a trainer or an arts partner? And if that's the case, I would always say come to them with an idea of what you want to do, introduce yourself, introduce the scheme. I always suggest that you can send on the guidelines and the application form for the award that you want to apply for and say, this is the opportunity that I have. Would you like to apply? In particular, if you're approaching someone who you don't have a personal or professional connection with yet, it's always good to introduce your practice and why you want to work with them as well. And I hope that that answers that question. And if it doesn't, let us know.
And I suppose in connection to that, the next question, they overlap, but I'll make sure and call it out nonetheless. How do I find a suitable training course or mentor or arts partner? Can you make suggestions of suitable people or make an introduction for me?
So the answer to that is it depends on what you're hoping to do. If you're looking for ideas, yes, come and have a conversation with me by email or on the phone. We can organize that. Tell me what you want to do, and I can point you in the right direction. I might not be able to make a direct introduction, but if I can't do that for you, I will pass you on to an art forum specific organization who might have more information to hand about who the right person might be. So together we can kind of set you on your journey to finding that person.
Okay. And we have another question here, but we may need a little bit more context to be able to fully answer it. But it's, I have a project in mind, but my previous work is of a different theme. Is that okay? So I think we may need a little more detail there, I imagine.
Yes. Yeah. So if it's about the type of work that you make, as in the concept of the work that you're making, then yes, I think you can deviate from what you usually do, but you need to provide evidence that what you're proposing is feasible for you with the skills and experience that you already have. But yes, a little bit more detail would be really good to be able to fully answer that question.
Yeah, perhaps they could email you directly to ask that, so you can flesh out what it is that they're looking to find out more about.
That would be great.
We have another question here. Is it possible to get funded for projects that are in the arts sector? For example, starting a nonprofit for arts. It's not artwork, so yeah, it's not. They're not sure if this is actually applicable to this funding scheme.
Yeah, I don't think that would be eligible to be setting up a company, an arts organization as part of the scheme. Um, the scheme is to support individual artists with disabilities in their own practice. So it is about skills development, about mentoring, about creating new work, and about buying time for your actual practice, whatever that practice is in whatever art form.
Okay. So just clarification around access needs. What are these, and how much of my budget should go towards these?
Again, it depends in terms of how much of my budget should go towards my access requirements. It depends. Some people don't have access requirements that relate to their application specifically, and that's fine. Other people, like say for example, if you're a wheelchair user who is who has approached an arts professional to put together a training program, you're a theatre maker, for example, And if you're doing physical work with a trainer in a space, that space needs to be wheelchair accessible. So that will be part of your access requirements, and you could include those costs in like venue hire, accessible venue hire in your budget as an access cost. Um, it depends on the person. If you're in doubt about what your access requirements might be, again, we can have a conversation and flesh those out. There are some examples, other examples of different types of access requirements in the frequently asked questions document that's on our website as well. You might find those useful.
And if I'm unsuccessful in this round, can I reapply in round two?
So I'm just going to repeat the question so I understand. If I'm unsuccessful in this round, can I apply in round two?
Yes.
Yes, you can. You can reapply with a similar application. If you are unsuccessful in round one, for example, please come and ask us for feedback. We can provide some information to you from the people, the panel who make the decisions, and that will include the score that you received and any feedback that the panelists wanted to share with you. And so that can be useful. It can be useful to have a conversation about how to strengthen your application. And also, I think for the new work information session that is coming up, Kira Chapman is going to talk about her experience of applying to the scheme and not being successful and then reapplying. So she went and she gathered some information and she adjusted her application and came back and was successful. So that's an example for you.
Brilliant. And then the next question is asking about the Research and Development Award. Is that like a bursary?
It is quite similar in that the focus is on buying time. Yes, it is very similar, but there is an emphasis on you taking an opportunity to connect with arts organisations and arts professionals if that's what applies to you in this moment in your practice. And also, I should say that in round one, we'll be offering one Research and Development Award, and in round two, we hope to offer two.
Okay, fantastic. It's great, everyone. Thank you. Keep those questions coming in because we still have plenty of time. So the next question we have here is, my mentor is in another country. Is that okay? Is that possible to have a mentor located outside of Ireland, essentially?
So this is a little grey. What I would say is that if this mentor is the person who you want to work with, communicate in your application why that is, and also if they have experience working in Ireland and if they are connected with the arts sector in Ireland, I would emphasize that as well. Unusually, because of the current health restrictions, people aren't allowed to travel, so a lot of mentoring is taking place online. And so that has opened up opportunities. But I think the mentor that you choose really does need to evidence that they're going to connect you in with the Irish arts sector, and that the information and the sharing that you're going to go through with them is going to be relevant in Ireland.
Okay. A very practical question here is, how many awards are in each category? So how many I mean, I know it's dependent on the award amount, but, can you give any kind of breakdown?
I can give some of a breakdown. So we're hoping to award around 14 awards in each round. 2 of those will be new work awards, and as I said, 1 will be a research and development round in the first round and 2 in the second round. And then after that, it really depends on where the best applications come from in terms of mentoring and training. So the rest will be kind of divvied up across those awards. Yeah, so we leave it as flexible as we can so that we're responding to the needs of artists in any given round.
And just to flag, I'm doing my very best to catch all the questions. They're coming across in chat and the Q&A box. So if we don't get back to a question, or we don't manage to capture all or answer all the questions, again, as Amie said before, please email her directly, and she'll be able to answer those if I miss them. So I'm doing okay, so next question we have here is it possible to apply for a collaborative project? So where an artist who has applying with another artist who has a disability, is that possible that maybe two people can apply for one award?
So, as I said, the scheme is for individual artists with disabilities. And what that means, like, say, for an example, for a new work award, um, an artist, Amie Lawless, is applying for a new piece of work that they want to make. So, the authorship and the ownership of the work and the artistic control needs to be with the applicant artist, so with Amie. And then it's really common for new work applications to involve lots of other arts practitioners, other professionals, and that in that sense you can have collaboration as part of the work, but you need to be the artist, the lead artist, the person who's driving the proposal artistically. You just need, there are different types of collaboration that you can bring in. And I hope that that answers that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so one person is worried about the time limits to complete the work. Obviously, their disability means that they may need extra time, and this would be an access requirement. Can this be taken into account?
Um, you have to operate within the guidelines that are set out. So most of the awards cover a 12-month window. So you need to tailor your project. You know your practice the best. You understand your workflow. You understand your access requirements the best. You have to cut your cloth accordingly, because you need to communicate to the panelists, to the people who will make the decisions, that you will be able to deliver this particular project as you describe in your application. So that's my advice there. Also, I should point out that the panelists, the people who make the decisions from each round. So Arts and Disability Ireland, we don't make the decisions, we just facilitate the panel. There will always be an artist with a disability. We would usually have a local authority arts officer and somebody who works in theatre or visual art, something, an arts professional who would be specific in an art form area. So that would be the makeup of the panel in general.
Okay.
Hope that's useful.
Yeah. Does my work have to be about my disability, or can it be about anything?
Oh, that's a really good question. It can be about anything. So we say that if making work about your lived experience of your disability is part of your practice, that's great. If your practice has nothing to do with your disability and you're not commenting at all on disability in general, that's great. Both are absolutely fine, and we understand it's a spectrum that might change for people as they evolve through their practice. It's all fine. We're interested in your ideas. We're interested in your artwork. That's the most important thing.
Okay. Okay, so I do believe that you've covered this already, but just in case, um, someone has asked if it's possible to apply for more than one award in each round. So, i.e., could they apply for a training and a mentoring award, or can they only apply for one award in a round?
So you can only apply for one award type in each round.
Okay.
So you would have to choose between the awards and submit one application. Um, Another thing I should probably flag is that, in particular with the arts partners for a new work application, the arts partner can also only support one application in any given round, and they're asked to sign a declaration as part of the application form stating that. So you need to check with your potential arts partner that you are the one artist that they're going to support in this round. And the same goes for a mentoring application. Mentors are only able to support one applicant who is making a mentoring application, and you should check with them that's the case, because there's nothing worse than um, uh, misreading a piece of the criteria or the guidelines and putting together all of your work to find out that it's ineligible because of this one little thing. So I really hope that people can understand that and double check with your arts partners and with your mentors in particular.
We have been asked just to clarify on access costs. I think you had mentioned that that's included within the amount. Is there any possibility of additional funding? Perhaps you could share a little bit more on that.
Yeah, so your those amounts that I mentioned are the maximum amount that you can apply for. So everything needs to fit within that. So if you have access costs, like say for example an interpreter, to take part in a training award, you do need to factor in those interpretation costs to take part in the training if that's what's necessary. Yeah, so I hope so all access costs, all of your fees, your materials, everything needs to be included within for the new work award, it's 15,000. For the research and development award, it's 5,000. For the mentoring award, 3,000, and for training, it's 1,000. Those are the amounts that are available.
So we have an attendee who had received an award, a mentorship grant last year. Can they apply for the new work award for this coming year in order to bring to life the body of work that they have planned and progressed, thanks to that mentorship award?
So there is a restriction about people who are artists who received funding last year. So if you received funding from round 2 in 2020, you cannot apply for round 1 2021. But artists who receive funding from round 1 can apply for round 2 funding. Also, in particular for new work recipients, they have to complete their new work awards, whether it's from like 2020 or whatever the year. They have to have completed all of their new work project before they can apply to the scheme again. So I hope that clarifies that. So yeah, so that would be an instance where you can drop me a line or arrange a call or a Zoom, and we can just double check what your situation is.
We've had a question just in relation. So they have asked that their peer group are not aware that they have a disability. Do they have to disclose where their funding has come from if successful? I imagine they could follow up with you in an email just to kind of seek a bit more clarification on that question, because you might need more detail.
I might need more detail, but I can say that if you apply and if you're successful, you do need to acknowledge the Arts Council, Arts and Disability Ireland, and the Arts and Disability Connect scheme as part of your funding award conditions. So while how you identify publicly is your business, but by receiving public funds, you will be associated with the award. And so people could probably deduce that you have a disability, but you might not want to talk about the specifics of that, and that's absolutely fine. And there have been artists in this scheme in the past who just don't want to discuss their impairment in public, and that's good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we have one last question, but we do have a little bit more time. So please do send on any other questions that you have before we finish up. Can I apply for 2 training courses that cost less than the €1,000 available? As I'd like to do, 2 short courses rather than one bigger course.
That's a great question. Yes, absolutely. You can build your training plan up to that €1,000 mark. And there have been really good examples in the past. In a previous information session recordings on our YouTube channel, I talked about Carol Garvey, who is a visual artist based in Donegal. And as part of his training application, he included several courses. I think he included a series of life drawing courses that were on offer through the RHA in Dublin. And he also attended, I think it was a weekend or a week long drawing workshop that was in the Byrne College of Art. And I have a feeling there was another element to his training application as well, but he very carefully mapped out his what training courses he wanted. It was all focused around drawing. Some was life drawing, others was about drawing in general. The courses at the RHA had they were very specific, a series of 1 day long life drawing courses. They were self-driven courses, and also the Byrne, that was just a longer period of focused training. So you can build it up however you need, in particular for training, which is great. Oh, Sheila, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm back. Oh yes, I did see this question. Thank you for the reminder. Will there be an information session specifically about the Research and Development Award?
There will be for round 2, we hope. That's if whoever is awarded it agrees to come and to talk with us. We understand we don't have examples to share because it is a new offering. But if you do have questions about what could be covered in that, feel free to organise a chat with me. We can organise to have up to 1 hour of the applicant support, or if you just want to simply drop me a line and double check your ideas. That's what we can offer for the moment about research and development, but we hope that there will be an information session in round 2.
And there is the option to book time with you, Amie, so that you can have a meeting with someone to an amount of an hour, I believe.
Yes, yeah. So you email Amie, AMIE at adiarts.ie. You let me know what you would prefer, if it would be an email, a phone call. I can call you. We cover the costs of the call, or a Zoom, if that's preferable. Unfortunately, we can't meet in person at the moment. But yes, you can arrange to have that meeting. It can serve you in whatever way you need. As I said, it can be about reading a draft application, or it could be about running ideas past me, or checking if you're eligible in particular areas. Like lots of the questions, I have had funding before from last year. Can I apply again? All of those kinds of things. I'm really happy to chat them through with people in whatever way suits you.
And I think we have one last question come through here. Just seeking a bit more information or insight into the types of documents that need to be submitted. So in reference to the letter or CV, could you just maybe explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as part of your application, you'll be sending your completed application form, and I think that that's quite clear. The application form is there, and you can edit it as you need. There are word counts. The budget is a template, and you can take away budget lines or add ones that are relevant to your project. You talk about the team that you want to work with. You talk about your ideas, your proposal, what you're planning to do, and how it will benefit your practice. So then the other documents are your artistic CV. So that has to be your most up-to-date artistic CV that shows, like, this is in a standard format of a CV. So it shows any relevant arts education that you have. If not, that's fine. Any relevant arts experience that you have, that's very important. So if you're a visual artist, you'll be talking about group shows or other exhibition opportunities, or even if you've had solo shows, those would all be listed there. Um, so that's your artistic CV. The CVs of the people that you want to work with. So the panel need to understand the experience and of the people that you want to work with. You can't presume that they're going to know everybody. So just provide the basic information. And then the letters of commitment. So for a mentor and for a new work application in particular, that's them saying, we want to work with this artist, this is the proposal, these are the types of supports that we're going to offer, this is going to be what the mentoring process is. I'm available if this artist is successful. And usually people are very generous in waxing lyrical about you, about being quite positive about your practice as well. Those letters are really lovely, and they do make an impact. So in terms of training, you would be asking for a letter from a training provider saying, if this artist is awarded this training course or this training opportunity on this date, would be available. And that's for, you don't need to book it in advance or anything like that. And then for the research and development award, we're asking for letters of interest. So if you want to work with, I don't know, if you're researching, and if you're a theatre artist and you're researching a new script, and you want to have some feedback from a dramaturg throughout the process while you're researching, while you're doing this work, then you can include a letter of interest from that dramaturg saying, I've talked to this artist, they're interested in doing this piece of research, I would really love to support them, and I would be available if they were successful. And then the examples of your work are very important. So I think I mentioned earlier, please choose examples from your previous work that relate to your application the most. So be quite conscious about what you're presenting to the panel. As I said, the panelists might not know you or your work. So it's really important to make sure that you're communicating who you are, your experience, and what your work is like. And there are different file types that you can submit. So you can submit Word docs and JPEGs for images, and audio files and video files as well. There are limits on those, and they're all written in the application forms and the guidelines. And if you're in doubt about file types, you can always have a conversation with me as well.
Brilliant. That brings us, bang on 12 o'clock. Thanks everyone for your great questions.
They were really fantastic questions. Yeah, thank you. Thank you all very much, and thank you for your time. Lastly, just I'm going to make a couple of last few thank yous to everyone at Arts and Disability Ireland who all support the scheme, to Pádraig Naughton, our Executive Director, Ramona Mulcahy, our General Manager, to Sheila Stewart, our Event Manager, and to Aoife O'Callaghan, who is our intern at the moment as well. Thank you all very much. Hope you have a nice day, folks.
Thanks.
Bye.